Hello, hello, hello. This is JAX Sailing Dolphin podcast, and you have joined us in our third episode where we have our four amazing JAX Sailing team captains.
Emily Allen.
Stefanos, Pappas.
Kayla Putzke.
Gurnell.
But could you tell me more about yourselves? Where are you from? What is your major, and what year are you?
Yeah, so I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida, and I'm a marine science major, and I'm also a sophomore.
Yeah, I'm from Greece. I'm a mechanical engineering major, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm from St. Augustine, Florida. I'm a music business major, and I'm a junior.
I'm from Old Sabre, Connecticut. I'm a sustainability major, and I'm a senior.
Perfect. And could you please share with us, how did you guys start sailing, and how old were you when you started sailing?
So I started sailing when I started doing summer camps, when I would come and visit Florida during the summers. And because we had family that owned boats and had grown up sailing, so we just kind of always sailed and then just got into racing from there.
Yeah, I think I started sailing when I was around 9 years old, like opties like everyone does. I don't exactly remember why I ended up in a nautical club and all that, but I liked it and I kept going.
I started sailing when I got to Jacksonville University. I walked onto the team here, so that was less than 3 years ago, and yeah, just took off from there.
I started sailing when I was 5 or 6 years old. I was sailing Blue Jays, Optimus, and lasers. Just launching them right off a beach, just pushing them in the water and going for a little sail.
And how did you decide to continue sailing in college?
So I had done both high school sailing with 420s and then sailed lasers as well. So sailing was something that I did basically every day of the week. And so when I was looking at colleges, I was looking for colleges that had high-performing sailing teams. And I felt like Jacksonville kind of fit that, and I just wanted to continue sailing. It wasn't something that I wanted to give up.
Yeah, I think by the time I had to go to college, sailing had already been a big part of my life, sailing around Europe and all over Greece for races and all that. And I just didn't want that to stop, it becomes a part of you, and you don't want that. You don't want to lose that when you go to college. So Jacksonville, I ended up here, and thankfully I'm still sailing.
Well, I knew I wanted to do something athletic in college. I didn't think it was going to be sailing because I had never stepped in a boat before I got to college, but here I am.
Yeah, similar to Kayla, I wanted to do something athletic in college. I was trying to play hockey for a little bit in college, and that didn't work out for me, so I fell back on sailing, and I'm glad I'm sailing in college. Yeah.
Okay, and now we're moving more to the role of being a captain. I think a lot of people do not know how to even become a captain or what is the life of being a captain of a sailing team. So, why did you choose to be a captain of JAX Sailing Team, and what was the process like? Did coaches choose you, or you had to apply? And how long have you been a captain as well? Could you share that, please, as well?
Yeah, so I've been a captain for this is second semester, but the process that our team goes through for becoming captain is that our teammates nominate us, and then from nominations, the coaches then choose the captains of the team from there. This year we had 4 different captains. In previous years we've had less. But I think between the 4 of us, we just kind of split up different roles, whether it's like behind the scenes, sending out messages on like practices or doing stuff with like gear orders and helping the coaches with any kind of miscellaneous stuff they need for fundraising or organization stuff.
Yeah, I think Emily described our role pretty well. We're just this like person between the athletes and coaches where we kind of do the work that the coaches don't want to do, and it's like easy and we can handle it.
So you don't have the opportunities to say yes or no. It's like a job given to you and you just have to accept it.
I mean, we chose to do this. Like we want to be doing this because all of us are very engaged with the team. All of us are there every time there's a workout, there's a race, there's a practice. And I feel like it's more of a role that we embrace and that we like to have because we get to help more the team and do more stuff that, in the environment that we love being part of.
And what would be the benefits of being a captain? Are there any extra benefits, or just the benefit is being more involved in the team and helping everyone out?
I mean, I think it's a huge honor first just to be captain of the team and being able to lead our teammates and kind of just help everyone, and be kind of that middleman between the coaches and the athletes.
I think it's a great insight of how you guys became captains, but what is the life behind being a captain? Like, what does it involve? Like, what jobs do you have? What do you have to do for the team?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, I took a lead on helping with organizing the team gear orders and organizing what we wanted and what colors and like branding and all. But then as well, I think each of us takes kind of a different role in the behind the scenes stuff, like sending out messages on like where we're meeting or like if practice changes or meeting times change and just kind of different updates, whether it's like fundraising or everything kind of like that. I think it's really just helping the coaches send out those messages that they don't necessarily have the time to send out because they're working on some of the other bigger aspects of the team.
Yeah, and we used to have a board of directors before last year, and there was, I think, around 6 to 8 roles in that board of directors, and we would only have 2 captains. So this past year, the coaches decided to break it down into just 4 captains and kind of allocate those roles between the 4 of us. So we used to have a social chair, a recruiting chair, a merch chair, which Emily has kind of taken on, and now we just kind of split those responsibilities that each board member would have had between the 4 of us.
Precisely. I think another big part of being a captain as well is like trying to more motivate the whole team and being there. You know, at the end of the day, we're athletes just like anyone else in the team, and we try our best to keep everyone motivated through the hard times, kind of cheer everyone up after a bad result or motivate them to go and do really well before a race. Just try and keep the spirits up, you know.
Who motivates you guys?
The team motivates us. The team is what drives us.
I love that. I love that. And which one of you are the oldest captain?
That's me.
For how long have you been a captain?
2 years.
2 years. And has it become harder or actually easier?
Over time, it's become a little bit easier, but it's still a challenge. There's things that happen all the time where you gotta jump on the gun and go and fix the problem real quick for the team. But yeah, overall, it's been getting easier, I guess.
But what has been your biggest challenge so far?
I think one of the toughest things for me personally is, you know, when you're feeling down or when you lack motivation yourself, it's hard to try and cheer everyone else up and try and motivate other people when yourself is not feeling that motivated. And like that is probably the hardest part. But yet again, through the team and by motivating each other, like the captains try and back each other up and be an emotional support when you need it.
Steph, and you are the youngest one of all of our captains. And how is the life of being a captain? How are you adapting to it? Because last semester you were still just a part of sailing team, which is a huge deal, but being a captain is even a bigger deal. How are you adapting to that?
You know, I don't think it's that different. You know, I'm still an athlete. That's still the hardest part of being a part of the team than being a captain. And I did kind of start it off easy since I didn't have to do any of the merch orders or all that Emily had to do. I think so far it's been going pretty well. I like it. I think I've been able to help the team a little and help myself by keeping me occupied.
The other captains have welcomed you. We support your actions on the team.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's the best thing to hear, that captains stick together, and I think that's the key to success, because then the team sticks together as well. And then from your perspective, what are the tough and easy parts of sailing, and what are the tough and easy parts of college sailing?
I think one of the tough parts of sailing is finding something that you could call easy about sailing, because there's a lot of aspects of it that are really challenging, both athletically and physically and mentally, and there's just so many things to be thinking about all the time on the water and even off the water, just trying to get into film and studying and practicing anytime we can. I don't have too much to say about the difference between college versus normal sailing. If
It definitely feels like you're more part of a system than before. Before it's more like you can decide how you want to approach it. It's more like you and your boat. You get to rig and set up everything to your liking. While in college sailing, it's more of a system that you're part of. You travel and you use other people's boats, other universities' boats. You're not allowed to mess with the rigging or change the setting on it. And I think that's the main difference with it. It feels more systematic.
Do you feel more professional or more kind of put in a box thing because you cannot change that many aspects of the boat?
I don't know if it's necessarily like more or less professional. I think there's just different parts of it. I think like college sailing has more of the ability to like put in more, not necessarily more less effort, but like you're able to kind of choose and follow like kind of how the coaches want to set up the team. Whereas like I guess normal sailing, it's kind of like you're all on your own. Like you're funding yourself most of the time. You're sailing your own boats and having to manage like where you want to go and what events you can go to. So it's kind of nice in college sailing being able to like fall back and know that like there's these different events on your schedule that like if you work hard, like you'll be able to be sent to those like as part of like the travel team, I guess.
I really agree with what Emily said. I think now you have sort of a peace of mind because you don't have to worry about budgeting or how many races you can afford to go to each year. You don't have to worry about keeping your boat in a good shape or you're having brand new sails. You can just focus on working on yourself, working harder, being a better sailor, and you have the comfort of everything else being taken care of.
And now moving a little bit away from sailing, let's talk about Rock the Docks. It happened last weekend. Well, last week on Friday. And I know Emily and Kayla, you were asked to be as volunteers of the Rock the Docks. Maybe you can give us an insight how it was, who showed up, who won the bidding prizes, which prize did you like the best? You guys were the lucky ones who could experience, as John said, our coach, the biggest party of the year.
it was a party, all right. It was a lot of fun being there and just being able to watch this huge thing that the team was planning kind of unfold. The people attending were a lot of, I think, parents of people either on sailing or rowing or part of the MSRI. I don't think we have any insight to who won different prizes, but there were a lot of cool ones. There was one where you could go tagging sharks, right?
Yeah.
I thought that one was really cool.
Yeah, I think the combination of different opportunities or prizes that you could get from the sailors or the rowers or even just some of the like O-Search people were really cool. It just kind of showed the different variety of like the sports and the education that JU is able to provide. So some of the O-Search ones were really cool. And I know there was a lot of different excursions that you could go on or learn to sail or learn to row. So I think those were some of the cool prizes. I'm not exactly sure who won each one or anything like that, but there was definitely a lot of kind of parents there. And so it was cool to see everyone like show up and support these different programs that the school has to offer.
But if you could bet on one of the prizes, which prize would you want to bet on?
There was a rowing machine for the raffle. I definitely bought some tickets for that and did not win, unfortunately, but that looked cool.
For me, being a marine science major, I think that the shark tagging with O-Search was kind of the one that stood out to me the most to bid on, but that one was a little pricey for me.
Yeah, I think most of the stuff there was a little out of our college budget.
And who would there come to the party more? Sailors, rowers, or marine science graduates, parents, or marine science people?
Probably parents. I did see a lot of sailing alumni though. I'm not too familiar with any of the other alumni, so there could have been a decent amount of them there. But I saw a lot of parents, probably more than anyone.
And what was the kind of moment of the night that you remembered the most?
Some of the sailing parents on the dance floor. that was pretty iconic. Oh, or John on the dance floor.
John on the
Yeah.
dance floor? Oh, yeah. Hi, John. I hope you're listening to our third podcast. But moving now back to sailing, Steph, you are from Greece. Why did you choose to study in US instead of Greece? Because a lot of people here in US dream of going to Greece and having vacation in Greece, but why did you choose to come to US?
I think you said the key word there. They want to go to Greece for vacation, not to study. Definitely that. For me, the reason why I wanted to come here and the reason why I stayed here and I'm still here are different reasons completely. I wanted to come here because I wanted to combine sailing with studying, and that's not an option in Greece. It's athleticism is not part of any university or anything like that, so you have to do your own funding and somehow manage to combine both. And the second reason was I wanted to study marine science originally, which have now, as I mentioned previously, is no longer the case. I'm a mechanical engineering major, proud to be one. I like it. But the reason why I decided, of course, to stay, and I'm still glad to be here, is mostly because I love how different my environment is compared to Greece. I love the life here and the college life, and how many more things are included in it. Second of all, I think the sailing team has just been this like amazing, embracing family since the first moment I got here. Everyone was so welcome and lovely, and it's a great environment to be in.
What would be the biggest difference between Greece and US?
That's a long list. Infrastructure is a lot better here. And I think you have just so many more options when you're studying. You can combine studying with work, sailing, being part of your school, and engaging in activities like this podcast right now. And it's so much more. Being an RA, something I'm going to do next year, residential advisor, so many more ways to engage with your school. And for me, more opportunities. I think the sailing community is a lot bigger here than in Greece. You can find any sort of boat in any yacht club and there's going to be a good amount of people sailing with it. There's going to be a community built around it. And I also think that life after college and getting a job is a lot easier and better for a student here. Like I think there's a lot more opportunities to get a job through an internship than would be back in Greece.
What is your plan after graduating?
I'm more of a like improvised type of guy. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to stay or not. I think I will. That's what I think will happen, but it's still too soon to tell, you know.
How is then studying in Greece? Maybe you can give a perspective to the listeners who have never been to Greece or have never been abroad to just understand how different it is. Because a lot of people know how studies work in or education work in US, but how does it work in Greece?
It's still 2 semesters per year, like it is here, but it's mostly you study all semester long for final exams in the end, and that's it. You either pass the exams and you pass the class, or you do not. There are a few classes which are like lab classes. You have to do some research, a little bit of work, but most of it is more you go to classes, the ones that are optional, the ones that are not optional. Sorry, if they're optional, most people skip them, from what I know. And you just study all semester long for 3-4 months until you give one exam that will determine if you pass the class or not. It isn't really my style. I prefer having a lot of different bits that combine and form your final grade. I feel like it gives someone a better opportunity and a more fair representing of what they're doing in that class and how much they've been working on it.
But education level, is it the same level in Greece as it is in US or
I mean, it depends. You're right. It's different things. I think Greek universities do have a prestige. I think they've throughout Europe they are recognized as solid university and institutions that graduating from is an achievement, and they do hold a status. But the same can be said about here. You know, I wouldn't put one over the other or anything like that.
Thank you, Steph. And moving on to goals. Maybe you can share with us, all of you, what are your this semester goals?
I think right now, especially on like the women's team side, our goal is just to kind of rebuild after losing pretty much everyone on the women's team last year. So I think right now we're kind of in a rebuilding stage and all just starting to work together and understanding like how each other function on the water, especially when it comes to team racing, and just building each other up and understanding how team racing works, seeing as it's only my second semester team racing, and for a large majority of the rest of the women's team it's their first time team racing. So I think it's all of us kind of putting the pieces together individually and then putting them all together to try and qualify for women's team race nationals.
Steph, what about you? What are your goals
Yeah,
this
I mean,
semester?
Same, you know, I'm still sort of adapting to this new college sailing and especially team racing format. It's only the second semester I've been team racing, but I mean, the goal is the same. We want to qualify for nationals and we want to rebuild the team. 2 years ago, we did lose a very big part of our men's team as well. It was really good. And now we're just trying to get back and reclaim that glory, you know, trying to work as hard as we can to qualify for nationals, and eventually they're really good at that. I think the team has a very healthy and better environment than it ever had before. But sailing wise, truth is we do need to improve ourselves. We're not as competitive as we once were, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah, no, I think this year was one of our bigger freshman classes. I think we have almost 20 freshmen. I think we have probably 10 to 12 sophomores. So we're definitely a very new and very young team, kind of working towards rebuilding and putting all the pieces together.
Yeah, one word the coaches have been using a lot this semester is developmental. That we're kind of taking this year as a developmental. Am I saying that right? Okay. Developmental semester and year, and just kind of upperclassmen we do have taking freshmen and sophomores kind of under their wings, those who need it and those who kind of need more help, especially with the team racing aspect. And we're just trying to grow as a team. So any goals we have are probably more team wide than individual right now.
But what about your more personal goals?
I definitely want to have a more firm grasp of team racing just as a whole. That's something I've been working on a lot, sailing wise. And I just want to be the absolute best that I can be with sailing.
Gordon, what about you? What are your this semester goals?
Well, it would be great to see the team, women's team or co-ed team, qualify for nationals. That would be something that's definitely a goal of mine. Personal goals, always can improve boat handling. Got to improve boat handling and get my speed up. Those are the biggest goals that I have right now. And I think that goes for a lot of the team members because speed kills.
And let's talk about competition that we did last week. I know, girls, you went to Charleston, and guys, you went to USF. So maybe let's start with the girls. Kayla and Emily, could you please tell more? How did we do at the competition in Charleston? What were the good parts and what were the bad parts? Because we always learn something new, even if the competition is tough.
So I think last weekend on both sides, I think it was definitely challenging. I think we definitely can see where our weaknesses are, and that's what we've been working on throughout the week. I think for the women's team, it was definitely just getting off the line. Because I think altogether we're pretty fast individually, but when we can't get off the line, that's where we start to have issues. So I think that was the biggest thing we took away and what we've been working on at practice this week. So I think there was a lot to learn, even though the results may not show like what we're fully capable of.
Same goes for the co-ed team race. I think we definitely didn't perform as we should have. We had a lot more potential and we could have produced a lot better result, but it was the first co-ed team race of the season. Our execution, our speed, and our starts were not as good as they should have been, but we built on from that. Like it was definitely a learning experience. It was the way the season started for the co-ed team, whether we like it or not, and we're just gonna get better from now.
And what were your expectations before going there? Like, if you say that you could have done better, so what were your expectations before you went to the competition?
No expectations. I didn't look at who I was sailing against. I just knew I was sailing at USF in Fort or FJ's rather. I had no expectations about the competition. I was worried about myself and my teammates getting ready to compete. However, we did not show up and perform the way we wanted to.
Last weekend, in one word, was educational for both teams.
What are your biggest achievements in sailing?
Yeah, I sailed lasers a lot throughout high school. And so I think probably my biggest achievement was being able to qualify for the Radial Youth Worlds in 2019, I believe. And then actually this past year, qualifying for the college single-handed nationals with Agya.
I was very honored to compete with you, Emily.
Yes, I think it was a lot of fun. I think the competition was really good, and it was kind of cool to see everyone in college sailing different boats than you would normally see them sailing.
And what about you, Steph? What are your biggest achievements in sailing?
I would say my biggest sailing achievements would be probably winning the 2019 Tornado European World Championship with Dani Pascalidis, and the following year we got 13th in the F18 World Championship, again with Danny.
Congratulations, Steph. That's a huge achievement.
Thank you.
That is. And to Emily as well. And what about you, Kayla? Like, what has been your biggest achievement in sailing?
I haven't really had the opportunity to be involved in the kinds of like pre-college or non-collegiate competitions that everyone else has, which all of that is super impressive to me, and I would love to be involved with that in some way in the future. But for now, I guess my biggest achievement would just be learning to sail, having never stepped in a boat and being afraid of the water 3 years ago. So I'll take that for now.
I love
Yeah,
that. That's
applause.
amazing. That's great. Wow.
I think you gotta give yourself a little bit more credit. I think you've reached a point where no one can tell you are a walk-on, and like the progress you've made and the way you sail now, it's impressive for someone who was afraid of the water, like you mentioned 3 years ago.
Yeah, I would have never imagined that you were a walk-on when I first met you. And I would have never imagined that you were scared of water. I did not even know that.
Thank you. Overcoming fears left and right.
And what about you, Gordon?
Yeah, I was thinking about this as we're going down the line, and my biggest achievement is based on the type of boat it is, and that's why I think it's my biggest achievement. I was able to sail a Marstrom 32 a year or two ago in Miami, Florida. Had a lot of fun with it. I just thought the boat was sick.
That sounds as a lot of fun. And is sailing involved in your future goals and plans? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, I think sailing's become such a big part of my life that I don't really foresee it ever going away, whether that's professionally or just recreationally. And being a marine science major, I'm always either in or on the water. So I think that it is just something that will always be a part of my life. I'm not exactly sure where I'll go with it, but it'll definitely be there somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's hard imagining our lives without sailing in it right now, but I personally don't have a plan yet for the future. I mean, I want sailing to be a part of it, but I can't picture how that would be possible right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Even having just done it for a few years, I can't imagine my life without sailing at this point, and I hope to stay involved with it even after graduating.
Yep, Gordon here. I see sailing part of my future. I see myself maybe a member of a yacht club one day and having my boat out on a mooring, my sailboat. Yeah, I definitely want to sail for the rest of my life. It's been a big part of me growing up, and it's taught me a lot of life lessons. So
Would you guys agree with the saying that when you start sailing, you cannot quit sailing anymore and it's a part of your life? And if you quit sailing, it feels like something is missing from you.
It's like a drug, it's an addiction. Yeah, no, you can't, like, it feels weird not to have it. I mean, it's different for everyone. It might be feel weird for you not to do it for a month or a week or even not doing it for a few days, but it's such a special feeling. And for us who sail that regularly, it's something that we need. It's something that makes us be able to make it through the week with all the studying, all the working out, and the tough schedule. It's definitely something you can't go on without.
I want to ask you how it is to combine your major with sailing because sailing takes a lot of time and your majors also take a lot of time.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I'm a marine science major, so it's pretty easy to be able to combine those things just because they're both so involved with being in or around the water. So I'm not exactly sure how they'll combine in the future, but I definitely see myself working on some sort of boat and being able to kind of grow from there. So I think that education wise, it's definitely not easy with some of the classes that we have to take, like chemistry and stuff. But I think it's all just about balancing your course load and the schedule that the team has.
Yeah, definitely. I think having a plan, having a schedule, and following it is what defines if you're gonna be successful in both being an athlete and a student or not. You gotta have an agenda. You gotta have a schedule. You gotta study regularly, but at the same time, you have to find this balance between doing good in school and working as hard as you can in sailing. And the only way to do that is by following a strict schedule.
And Steph, what is your major?
It's mechanical engineering. Currently, I'm taking calculus to physics to engineering and biology. So it's definitely all of the classes have labs. It's a lot of work, but so far so good. I'm making it.
So scheduling for you is the key to success. And
Definitely scheduling and actually following your schedule and not skipping. Like skipping a single day could just make everything so much more complicated.
hydration is also the key to success.
what do you mean by hydration?
Hydrating with water, staying hydrated throughout the day. It keeps your body at the place it needs to be fully operational.
And Gordon, could you remind us what is your major
I'm a sustainability major.
and how it is to combine sustainability major together with sailing?
Yeah, well, sustainability has a lot to do with nature, sustaining the ocean, sustaining wildlife, and the way we know the world today. And so sailing, when I'm sailing on the water, I am connected with the ocean and nature, and that's how I got into sustainability.
And Kayla, what about you?
So my major is music business, probably the least related to sailing major that you could pick. So it was pretty difficult my first 2 years here because I was taking about like 10 to 12 classes because a lot of music classes are 0 credit, and trying to balance that on top of sailing, it was a lot.
10 to 12 classes, you mean 10 to 12 credits or
No.
actual classes?
Classes, each of which took the same amount of time as a 3 credit class, but because
Wow.
music majors have to take so many classes, they mark a lot of them down as 0 to 1 credit classes. So I was still under 24 credits, which is the the legal limit for credits, but I was taking like my credit hours or my like time in those classes took up as many as 12 classes would take.
That's crazy. That shouldn't be allowed.
That
Yeah,
that is crazy.
it's insane, but I mean, it taught me how to manage my time better for sure because I was taking classes straight all day from 8 a.m. until we would have practice, sometimes through practice, and then even after practice until 9 to 10. And I was still working during all of that. So it was a lot, but I'm definitely a lot better at managing my time now.
But what would be your suggestion to someone who's going through a similar or the same thing as you? Like looking back to it, what would you suggest to your younger self, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
I definitely had to learn what I was prioritizing. And at first, I was on scholarship for saxophone here. So that was my priority. And then pretty quickly, that shifted to sailing as I realized how much I loved the sport and how quickly I was able to pick up on it. So I learned to prioritize what mattered most to me. And I had to stand up for myself a lot in the music department just because it's not right to be taking 12 classes at once, I guess. So if I could tell my younger self just to stand up for yourself a lot sooner, that probably would have helped.
I mean, yeah, that sounds insane, especially considering like with the sailing team, you basically get no weekends
Yeah.
and you miss half of your Friday every week once the season starts. Having all those classes, it's insane. I don't know how you manage.
But what do you think? Will these lessons that you learn here in Jacksonville University?
I mean, I think that anything you learn throughout college will naturally end up helping you in later in life, whether it's time management or scheduling, or even just the communication skills you build with your teammates or your professors, or in our stance like coaches. I think that there's a lot of valuable lessons to be learned, and you naturally start to get better at each of these things and are able to apply them to your professional life.
Our schedule, your guys' schedule, are super tough and super intense, but have you ever burned out? And if you have, how did you overcome that?
I've definitely burnt out a few times, actually, probably every semester right around midterms or finals. It's pretty typical of me to just get feel very overworked and overwhelmed. And at that point, I'm just like, wondering why I'm doing certain things or why I'm spreading myself so thin. But I always just keep in mind why I'm doing each thing in my life, like why I make such a big commitment to sailing, why I make such a big commitment to my academics and where it's going to get me. And I make sure to take time for myself, and that can normally pull me out of it pretty quickly.
And what has helped you the most? Have you seen a sports psychologist or therapy or
Yeah, I was gonna say my therapist for sure. She's helped me a ton with not even managing my time, but just managing my mental health when I have no time, and just keeping myself okay even when situations might not be. She's been super helpful with that.
I think a big part of, trying to prevent burning out once you see that it's starting to happen is kind of sit down, try and remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing, and kind of look back, see what priorities you have in your life, what your schedule looks like. And, sometimes you have to make adjustments. Sometimes you just bit more than you can chew, and you have to start taking things off your schedule, finding some time to rest. And there's no shame in doing less things than other people are. Everyone is working on their own rhythm. But I think the biggest part in dealing with it is recognizing when you're getting there, is recognizing that if I keep going like this isn't sustainable. I'm going to burn out, and making an adjustment. I think it's different for everyone, for anyone. Like it's some things are more important to some people than they are for others. But the way I make up my mind is I have the luxury, thankfully, to think of what makes me more happy, and based on that, make a decision. Thankfully, I know that my position in the university is secured for this semester. I know that I don't have to worry about making it through the next couple of months financially or in any other way. So at this point, I know my goals. I know what I want to do, and for me, it's important to first do a priority list of my goals and then see what actually makes me happy and what doesn't, because working towards a goal that's not going to bring happiness in your life is not sustainable, and it's just not going to give you what you want. It's not going to give you any satisfaction.
Yeah, going off of that, I was gonna say, like, in order to prioritize what you want to put your effort into, just kind of picking what serves you as well, because you're putting all this time and effort into so many things, and you're serving people or things or organizations, and is any of it actually helping you back or serving you back? And if there's some things that just aren't anymore, then maybe it's time to cut those out and prioritize the things that do serve you.
This is quite serious subject, but I think it's very important to talk about it because not a lot of people talk about it. And thank you for sharing that because I think it can help a lot of sailors, a lot of our sailors, or people that are listening also to this podcast, and could motivate to actually seek out for help, and that it's okay to ask for help and tell people how are you feeling so you could make whatever adjustment seems called for.
No, exactly. Asking for help, I think, is a crucial part, especially in our team. Since we see each other almost every day, it's easy to notice when someone's not showing up, or when someone's starting to not follow the schedule they used to. And I think everyone here is able to recognize when someone needs help, on where someone seems to be on the verge of burning out. So for me, in the past, it has helped me a lot when one of my teammates just came up, asked me, like if everything's all right. And the fact that other people recognize when you need help is a crucial part of, you know, wanting to seek out help and wanting to be helped.
I also agree that it's very important and it's very nice when people recognize because sometimes you don't want to talk about that. But when someone asks you, it's so much easier to open up and it can actually help you a lot. And thank you for recognizing that. You guys, as captains, I think have done a great job with helping and motivating people, at least from a side that I have seen. So I want to
Thank you.
say thank you. You're welcome. So I want to say thank you from the whole team. I'm very grateful to have you guys as captains. But as our podcast is coming to an end, let's move on to two last questions. And the question is, would you rather go on vacation or would you rather go on a sailing trip and compete at competition?
Can we go on a sailing trip or competition in Europe?
Yeah, I think combining them would be the ideal situation there. Like you get to travel somewhere you haven't been and then sailing, or like I had the opportunity to sail a catamaran like down in the island. So I think the ideal situation would be combining them both into one.
I agree. Yeah,
So-
like a catamaran down in the
Yeah.
islands. Yeah. Yeah, that's the ideal.
I'd go to Hawaii.
So what-
Honestly,
So your dream trip would be to Hawaii.
it's not about a dream trip. I'm thinking of it more of like, what do I need right now? I think I need a little bit of vacation. Maybe after a week of vacation, I would be very happy to go back to racing. For a full week, go race somewhere. But currently, I think I need some vacation time.
So maybe next spring break, let's make team vacation to Hawaii with a catamaran.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
We did try
no,
that.
we will find some sponsors,
To go on vacation?
Yeah.
Gil.
Why not? All great athletes deserve a vacation,
I don't know if we're great
Yeah,
yet.
I don't know
but,
if we're
We could plan it. I think it will be a lot of fun.
Let's do it.
Just let's go there with FJs to Hawaii.
Let's not do that.
I was gonna say, I think we want to step back from the FJ. We could get a catamaran and just kind
Yeah,
of cruise
dude,
around the
yeah.
island.
I like that idea.
So, if anyone is listening to this podcast who loves sailing and has a catamaran that could host like 40 people, please reach out to us. We have email also posted below this podcast, and we are all great sailors, and we would love to take you and your family out to vacation to Hawaii, and we could teach you all about sailing, you know? I think everyone can agree with
Yeah,
me
we'll
like
take
that.
care of your boat.
Okay, and now moving a little bit back to more serious topic. What is the greatest sailing advice you have ever received?
Best sailing advice Gurnell's ever received is sail fast in the right direction. Shout out mom and dad.
Read this at the bottom of the sheet, and I was going between two. One of them is, of course, a John Fadre quote, put the pointy end towards the orange thing. And then another one would have been from one of our old coaches, Fred. He was a coach when I first walked onto the team, and I was just kind of expressing frustrations to him at one point, and he just looked at me like no emotion on his face, and he goes, "It's not supposed to be easy." And that kind of stuck with me and made me a little more determined to work harder at it.
Yeah, I think the best sailing advice I've ever received was probably from my old coach slash mentor, Kostas Trigonis. I think his advice was that at the end of the day, it's just a game. Sailing is a game, and the mentality and how you approach it makes a huge difference. So if you can kind of stop over stressing or overthinking or trying to kind of shut down all those emotions and realize that it's a game, and whoever plays better wins. I think it's you can see sailing from a whole different point of view if you kind of have that different view.
Yeah, I think Kayla stole one of mine, which would be pointing at the pointy end towards the orange things, or in lasers, it's keeping the pointy end up, making sure that you're upright at all times because they like to flip over pretty easily. But then I think another one, and one of my bigger challenges, especially throughout like high school sailing, was that when you're on the water for extended periods of time, sometimes you forget about making sure that you're like refueling and rehydrating. And sometimes you don't realize how either dehydrated or how hungry you might be. And so I think that the best advice I received from one of my coaches was just to like, it's better to over like eat things like Cliff Bars or like the sugar from like go-go squeezes or anything, or like fruits like apples or oranges, and just being able to refill yourself that way with the electrolytes and the energy, um, in turn has a better effect on you, and you may not realize it. But I think that was a big challenge that I faced, was letting myself get dehydrated, and then by the end of the day would not be performing the same as I was at the beginning of the day.
Thank you. I loved all of them. And with this beautiful last question, yes, Steph, did you want to say?
I was gonna say us. We are beautiful.
Yeah, you guys are beautiful. I want to say thank you for everyone for listening. And today you joined us with Emily, Kayla, Stefanos, and Gordon. And I was your host, Agia, and I have Dunya at the background. And we will see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now moving a little bit away from sailing again, are you guys ready for spring break? It's already next week. And what are you guys planning to do?
So me personally, since I'm from St. Pete, it's only about 4 hours away. So I'm planning just to kind of head home and be able to relax for a couple days before coming back up and heading to Annapolis for one of our women's fleet race events.
I will also be going towards that area. There's Sarasota, Tampa, around there. Few people on the team, they're all from there. They have houses, and they will be what's the verb?
Hosting.
Hosting, yeah. All right. Well, let's reset that. I will also be heading. I will also be heading towards Emily's area over there. I'm gonna be going to Sarasota, and I'm gonna be staying in a few. Oh my.
It's okay, Steph. He's
Going to Sarasota.
I will also be heading towards that area. I will be going to Sarasota for spring break, and one of our team friends and athletes, teammates, will be hosting me at their house. I think that's the plan for a lot of other team members, and it's gonna be a great time. We're all gonna relax, enjoy the Florida sun, get a much-deserved break.
Are you planning to sail, or it's more like just sunbathing?
I think we're gonna do some F-18 sailing. We're definitely gonna do some sailing.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, us sailors cannot go more than a week without sailing. It helps with our mental health.
I'm so sorry.
You think my mental health is a joke?
On to the sports psychologist question.
No, Steph, I actually care a lot about your mental health and everyone's mental health. And it's not a joke. It's
Good.
not a joke. Just how passionately you said mental health that made me smile. Even made my heart smile. So
Oh, you should get that checked. I don't think your heart's supposed to smile.
Oh yeah.
And Kayla, what are your plans?
I'll be sleeping the whole week.
Kayla's actually just gonna sleep.
Hibernation.
And Gordon, what about you? What are your plans? What are you planning to do?
I plan on kicking it. Not really sure. I don't have plans right now. But there's a chance I'm headed to Sarasota.
Maybe you could explain to our audience, what do you mean by caking it? Are you planning to bake a lot of cakes, or what is
No,
it?
kicking it. Listen to music. Maybe curling up next to the pool.
Oh,
Well,
I was expecting a name there.
a name. Curling up, reading a book. I have this book I have to read for my women in crime class. I could not tell you the name of the book right now. But I do have to read that book. So probably gonna start on the book, and probably go to the beach. I think maybe do some water sports like surfing. Maybe a little wingding action.
Lake day?
Leg day? Can't skip leg
No,
day.
lake day.
Leg day at the lake. That's
Lake day. Yes. That'd be fun. Leg day at the lake.
Yes. 2 in 1. You cannot,
Can't
pass
beat it.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh my god, who just swallowed? That was
Yeah, don't swallow next. You can swallow to the side.
We don't do it like.
No, it's like no, it's like you do this.
Well, then the chair squeaks as you try.
It is what it is. We are trying to solve that too. By the way, Dunya, was someone here before you came? Because those doors are now closed. Did you close those doors?
No.
Okay, now it's creepy because they were open and now they're closed and they're locked. And there is like literally, actually, I'm a bit paranoid. Because if none of us closed the doors, then it was. Okay.
Be fun.
Everyone's ready? Let's try. We're starting to record in 3, 2, 1. I don't know, Steph's smile just gets me off.
Steph.
After the first sentence he said about that film or movie. Okay, serious.
What did you just do?
Look at his eyes.
Oh my god.
That's creepy, don't do that. I already saw a naked guy.
Sorry, I had to. It was a good chance.
Like in the middle.
Did you get a good look? Did you get a good look?
I got a good look, yeah, thank you. Nightmares coming up. Next episode.
Next episode.
Okay,
How Steph is mentally traumatized as well.
Spring break special. Okay.